Good morning, my little grandchildren. How are you today? Do you have your thinking caps on? Did you get a good night's sleep? Well, this is Granny Patty, and we are getting ready to talk about Lesson 13, and it's all about Cuba in North America. Our exploration of North America today will take us into the Caribbean Sea and Cuba, the largest island nation found here. The beautiful Caribbean waters invite everyone to go for a dip, and tourists enjoy limitless sun and sand. This crocodile-shaped island is a popular vacation destination despite being a country with challenging politics. Cuba is governed by a one-party system, meaning there's only one party in the government, not like we have here, Democrats and Republicans and independents. This has created difficult economic and social relationships both within the country and with other nations since the Communist Party of Cuba rose to power in 1965. Although voting in the country is mandatory for all of its citizens, the only legal party to vote for is the Communist Party, allowing the Communist Party to act as they please. There are still restrictions in place for Americans to visit Cuba and can only do so if they meet certain requirements. Turning the page. Features and landmarks. It is not often that a hotel earns the title of National Monument, but the Hotel Nacional de Cuba holds such a title. This beautiful hotel was completed in 1930s and is located in the center of Havana on a hill just meters from the sea. This remarkable location affords guests delightful views of the harbor, the city, and the sea wall. The building is considered a symbol of Cuban identity and culture and has been visited by many famous personalities, including Winston Churchill, Frank Sinatra, and Ava Gardner. Hotel rooms cost around $150 to $250 per night, with restaurants, swimming pools, shops, and a salon all available in the hotel. Historic tours of the hotel and traditional live Cuban music and shows round out the experience of a lifetime at this beautiful historic site. What kind of land and animals is in Cuba? Cuba is a land of many diverse habitats for numerous species that call this beautiful island home. The coastline is the longest coastline of any island in the Caribbean, with 3,735 miles of beautiful beaches, mangrove swamps, and other coastal habitats. Inland, you will find rivers, mountains, and waterfalls, providing endless adventuring opportunities and habitats for the creatures that live here. The blue-green waters of the Caribbean are home to the second largest coral reef area in the Caribbean, with a diverse ecosystem just under the surface includes hundreds of species of fish. The largest swamp in the Caribbean is located on the island of Cuba. The Zapata Swamp is massive at 1,116,440 acres of wetlands. This area is so diverse that there are forests growing out of the swamp. These forests contain thousands of species of plants that create a habitat for a plethora of animals. The Cuban crocodile and the West Indian manatee can be found here, as well as over 150 species of birds. The bee hummingbird makes its home here in Cuba. These hummingbirds are the smallest bird species in the world, measuring only 2 inches long and weighing less than a dime. The Cubans call this bird zunzun and believe it to be a symbol of love. The Monte Iberia eluth is one of the smallest frog species in the world. This critically endangered frog is found only in the woods around Mount Iberia in Cuba. One population of this frog is found on Mount Iberia and another at sea level. This tiny black frog has 2 distinctive yellow stripes running along its small back and averages less than 1 centimeter, which is approximately 3/8 of an inch. The Monte Iberia eluth is a carnivorous frog hunting insects, moths, and spiders in the forests of Cuba. It is preyed on by larger animals like birds, rodents, and lizards, as well as toads and other frogs. Here's an activity break, kids. Look up pictures of the Cuban crocodile, the bee hummingbird, and the Monte Iberia eluth. I'm sure your mom will have something available for you. So Cuban food is a unique mix of several different nationalities. You will find Spanish, French, Haitian Creole, and Afro-Caribbean flavors. The national dish of Cuba is called ropa vieja, made of shredded beef cooked slowly in a sauce of tomatoes, peppers, onion, and garlic. This dish is originally from the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa, owned by Spain. There have been many people that came to Cuba from these islands bringing this delightful dish with them. The direct translation of this dish to English is old clothes. And there is a legend that goes along with this unique name to explain the origin of the dish. It is said that a poor old man had nothing to eat but his shredded old clothes. He cooked the clothes and prayed for a miracle, and when he finished cooking, the clothes had turned into beef. Langosta de enchilado, which means Cuban lobster, is reserved for the privileged tourist of very important people. This dish requires the lobster to be stewed in a sauce called enchilado. This sauce is full of tomatoes, onions, garlic, peppers, cumin, and chili powder. It can usually be found on the menu of high-end Cuban restaurants, but be sure to ask the server if there is any lobster in the restaurant that day before sitting down. Lobster is caught and cooked fresh, so some days there is no lobster to be had in restaurants despite its presence on the menu. Rice and beans is also an extremely popular dish. Its inexpensive nature has resulted in it forming the basis of the diet for many poor Cuban families. It is also used as a side dish for almost every meal, regardless of how rich a Cuban family might be. You will find this dish mode with either black or red beans. Sounds really good, doesn't it? What's the culture or history of Cuba? Cuba has had a long history of influences from other places creating the unique Cuban culture that we see today. The Spanish colonization of the island, the use of slavery, and the subsequent African cultural influences, and the indigenous people groups native to the island created a culture all its own. Music in Cuba has been mostly influenced by Spain and the African culture that came to the island with the slaves. Some famous styles of Cuban music are mambo, cha-cha-cha, and rumba. Dance is a large part of this culture as well, with many of these music styles making it almost impossible to not move along to with the high energy music. The Cuban people also love to play sports, and they have regularly had great success in the Olympics as a result of the strong love for sports in their culture. While many sports are played around Cuba, baseball is by far the favorite. There are over 200 Cubans who have played Major League Baseball in the United States. As mentioned earlier, the Cuban government has experienced political instability throughout its history. Following the Cuban Revolution that resulted in Fidel Castro coming to power, the country was influenced by the Soviet Union, adding another dimension to this already unique culture. The Communist Revolution of the 1950s also brought about persecution for the practice of any religion. The government actively persecuted anyone they found disobeying this order. By the 1970s, the government had relaxed some of its regulations, but it was not until 1992 that religious freedom was guaranteed by an amendment to the Constitution. About 60% of the population is connected to Catholicism, and Christian holidays are now celebrated around the island with great gusto. Okay, here's another extension activity. The game of dominoes is the national game of Cuba. Play a game of dominoes with your family. If not tonight, sometime soon. Also, hands-on activity. This is easy. Take some time today to play catch. If you have baseball gloves and a bat, enjoy a game of baseball. There's 6 of you. We can't really count Daniel. You guys might be able to have some fun with that. All right, my cute little darlings. It's time for Mommy to take over. Get your notebooks ready. Get your brains ready. You know Granny Patty loves you very much. Be nice to each other. Take care of yourselves. Give Mommy and Daddy extra hugs and kisses today. I'm sure they could use it. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.